Go. Hi, my name is Lee Relief, and welcome to the very second Connected Classrooms virtual field trip. Today we come to you live from Constitution Hill, the home of South Africa's highest court, the Constitutional Court, as well as being the home of some of South Africa's most tragic historical events. Now, before we go any further with our virtual field trip, which will take us from here, the number 4 prison cell at Constitution Hill, the next prison cell, and some of the outer areas, I'd like to introduce to you a good friend of mine, and of course, the man that will be telling us a lot more about Constitution Hill, Collen. Collen, how are you?
I'm very well.
Very good, thank you. It is indeed. It is indeed out here in Joburg. Now, before we go to the schools, and before the schools introduce themselves, can you tell us a little something about yourself very quickly?
I am a tourist guide. My name is Collen Baloyi. I'm a tourist guide, a historian, a tourism developer, and a South African ambassador, you know.
No doubt.
So yeah, that's me standing up for South Africa out there.
Okay, sweet. Well, of course, you do know who I am. My name is Lee Mulifi, and now I'll be very quickly going to your school to have somebody from your school tell us who you are. So if anybody from each classroom will please approach the camera and get as close to the camera as possible, then give us their name and tell us a little about their school. I think we will start with St. John's. St. John's, can you hear me? Okay, I need somebody from St. John's to approach the camera. Okay, there we go. I can see you. I can see you. All right, I'm just waiting for audio very quickly. Please. Tell us who you are. Tell us your name and the school that you're from. Hi, I can hear you now. Can you start over again, please? Okay. Great. I just want a very good cheer from everybody in class to let me know that we are ready to go from St. John's. In 3, 2, 1, go! Okay. That was great. All right, I'm going to go to the next school. I'm going to go to Uplands.
We are the grade 11 history students of Uplands College.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much for joining us. And of course, to all the other schools as well, thank you very much for joining us. Do get tucked in. We will get the show rolling quite literally right now, won't we, Collen?
Yeah, well, it started already.
Okay.
I mean, I'm feeling it already. Yeah,
right.
We can go.
Okay, sweet. Let's go for it. Please, give us a very quick background of what this place is, what Constitutional is.
Well, Constitution Hill is only 10 years old. It is today a beacon of human rights, constitutionalism, and democracy.
No doubt.
Because it is home of the highest court in the land, being the Constitutional Court. But prior to that, it used to be a prison, one of the most brutal prisons in the country, one of the most unhygienic and overpopulated prisons. Where we are now, we are at the number 4 section, which was known as the black male section. Black being a generic word. Indians, colored, Chinese people were all classified as black people.
Now, something that's very interesting about Constitution Hill, it actually had a large number of people held here, didn't it?
Yeah.
A range of people.
Yeah, actually surpassing the capacity. So it was one of the most overpopulated prisons.
Wow.
Hence, it had to close down in 1983, 31 years ago.
Okay. Okay. Now, a really, really interesting fact that you told me a little while ago, only 2 out of 10 people held here at the heights of the atrocities that went down here were actually criminals?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I already told you who are the criminals, so I won't ask you that question.
Okay.
I'm going to refer it to the students. The school should at least try to pick 2 out of those faces there.
Out of those faces there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, we want somebody to come up to the camera very quickly from Siyabonga Secondary. All right. Now, interesting fact. Now, this place held a wide range of different kinds of prisoners. Here, you had women being held here. You had political prisoners as well as petty criminals sharing cells with people that were hardened criminals and convicted for some of the most atrocious crimes you could think of. But only 2 out of those 10 were actually atrocious, hardened criminals.
Yeah.
If you look at the wall behind me, so the student from Siyabonga Secondary, there are 10 faces on this wall, right? Very interestingly, like Collen has just pointed out, only 2 out of the faces here behind me were actually criminals. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so numbering each by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, I would like you to tell me which face you think was a criminal and which one was not. From Siyabonga Secondary School. Can we have a learner come up to the camera, please? Okay, here we go.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I think it's number 5 and
Number 5.
I think it's number 5 and 10.
Is this number 5?
Yeah, that's number 5.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's number 5 for you?
Yes, I am.
Number 5 being this guy. Okay, Collen?
Yeah.
We'll reveal that in 1 second, won't we?
All right. Okay. Now.
Okay, cool. I would now like somebody from St. John's to come to the microphone. Okay. No. Can we make that Uplands rather? From Uplands. Somebody new from Uplands, please come to the camera and tell us which face you believe is the second criminal of the 10 faces behind me.
I think 3 and 7.
Between number what?
Number 7 is this one.
Number 3 and number 7.
7 being this guy. And what's your other number?
Number 3.
Number 3. Number 3 being this guy. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, cool. Collen,
Yes.
the moment. Which one of these guys was actually a criminal?
Actually, we have 2.
We have 2?
And 1 was spot on. Number 7 is a criminal.
No doubt. Okay, so our man from
You
Uplands
have
is right.
1, but this guy over here, I mean, he hardly looks like a criminal. He's too naive to be a criminal, you know.
He kind of doesn't. He actually looks a bit sweet, doesn't he?
He's very sweet.
Looks
And
like
I'm surprised they picked him for a criminal.
Okay.
Most of the time, many people would rather prefer this guy instead
Okay.
of that guy up there.
Now, this guy that is, in fact, one of the political prisoners here.
He is one of the political prisoners
What
here.
can you tell us about him very quickly?
His name is Prema Naidu. Prema Naidu was incarcerated here in 1982 for helping 2 ANC members flee the country. He was not wise enough to flee the country himself. He ended up being a prisoner here, sentenced to serve a year. He only served 9 months because he was transferred to a newly built prison, the Johannesburg Central Prison,
Okay.
which is known as Sun City.
Wow. Okay, so
And
speaking
this
about-
man,
Yeah.
he is today the chief whip councillor of Johannesburg.
Wow. Very interesting. So he's still alive and well.
He is still alive, yeah.
All right. So now, speaking about him getting transferred to different prisons, tell us a little more about these prisons. Can you tell us
All right.
a little more about number 4 prison? Now, very, very importantly, I mean, you did mention that these places often got overpopulated.
Yes.
But before we go back there, now this is very, very interesting. Quick idea there. Now there's a shoe
Very
sitting-
genuine, eh?
sitting right here. Is this a genuine shoe that was
It's a
worn
very
by-
genuine shoe, very old shoe. It was once worn by a prisoner, and today you holding it in your hand, and it still looks intact.
Okay. Well, it smells better than my shoe. So. All right. So now this place, it looks a lot like it's demarcated. It looks a lot like there's different people sleeping in different places. For
Yep.
some reason. Why?
Well, where we are now, this was one of the most notorious cells because of gang activity. This is where gang activity actually emerged in South Africa.
Okay.
As you know, today we're notorious of the number gangs, being the 28s, the 27s, and the
Right.
26s.
Absolutely.
This was their emergence, so this became their stronghold.
Yeah.
And today they have spread across the whole country within each and every prison.
So very importantly, a legacy, another
Legacy, yes,
part
most
of that
definitely.
is prison
Is,
culture.
is prison culture.
Wow, that is extremely interesting. Tell us a little
So,
more about this.
to
Now
be-
this looks like it's demarcated, people sitting at the back?
Yes, to be found in a gang-dominated cell, survival dependent on hierarchy. So this site was known as Ematafuleni, or the table site, which was the dominant section, and this is where the gang bosses would be situated.
Okay, so it's a little bit like the guys that sit in the back of the classroom.
Yeah, the ones that fail a lot,
I'm
like
sure you
sitting
guys
at the
know.
backs of the classrooms, yes.
Okay.
And the students should know who is seated at the back of the classroom, right?
We'll leave that up to you.
So if you were to arrive here, you would be given 2 blankets and 2 sisal mats. And from those items, the gang bosses would take, by force, of course, a mat and a blanket or 2 from you, leaving you with almost nothing. So you had to make friends. So these are the guys who were forced to make friends because they would be found in the same situation, less material provided for them or available for them. However, if you received visitors, you were called a besuk boy. Besuk is an Afrikaans word which means visitor. However, these guys over here would not be visitors, they would receive visits, and commodities like cigarettes, money, and bread would be brought for them. However, those items would be forcefully taken away by the gang members. In exchange of that, they would be given protection, and the protection would come in form of these guys. They were called the bush boys, and their duty was to run the errands, cleaning the cell, extorting money, and victimizing other inmates. And these guys over here would be the victim.
Okay, so very importantly, the brutality of the prison itself breeded even more brutality between the prisoners' interactions themselves?
Yes, yes. And that was supported and promoted by the prison authorities.
Wow, so the wardens would encourage that sort of aggressive behavior between the people inside.
Exactly, they were in support of the gang members or the criminals in here, hoping that the criminals would victimize especially political prisoners.
It's incredibly interesting that many times we ignore some of the existing, very quite strongly existing legacies of apartheid.
So this is one of the prisons that is renowned for humiliation, brutality, unhygienic conditions, overpopulation, and it had to close down. I mean, the conditions were unbearable in here.
So quite strongly, an important theme, an important idea behind apartheid prisons was not only, I mean, quite simply, it wasn't a correction measure, it was also a matter of humiliation. It was a matter of trampling on the human dignity of real people.
And through that, many lost their dignity, you know, they lost their self-esteem and their confidence. And can you imagine how these atrocities would affect them later on in years to come? I mean, we still have those prisoners who are still reluctant to come and visit this site. Some claim that they still smell, they could smell the odor which was here. Some can still feel the key locks locking them up. So can you imagine that? Some still remember being strip searched and all that. Humiliation all the way, so maximum humiliation.
So for the apartheid government, prisons actually worked as another tool.
Yes.
Quite simply just an addition to the already broad arsenal of tools of humiliation and human rights violation. Prisons were another tool in that measure?
Exactly, and let's go there. You'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, humiliation. You can go in there, squat for the kids to see, man. So these, we call them squatting toilets because for one to use them, you would have to squat. And you had to face Pretoria. That's where the capital was. That's where the Ratsal was. So you had to face Pretoria. You find your spot, position.
Is this the position?
That's the position. You actually got it right there. So imagine if you have diarrhea and you have to squat. And you know sometimes diarrhea can spray, you know. So imagine how you would be after using the toilet over there.
And they would have to do this right next to other prisoners, like literally no form of privacy.
Yes, no form of privacy. Some parts of the world still use this kind of a system. In Asia, in the rural areas, and some airports, you still find the long drops or the squatting toilets. The difference is privacy. These ones were completely explicit, no privacy at all. As you can see with this corrugated panel over here, so you didn't even need to be with someone next to you to feel humiliated. You know, from a distance, if you were from a distance and somebody was squatting here, you could actually see detail dropping down. And it was also stipulated that they were supposed to eat their meals right in front of the toilet. So they were supposed to squat in rows right in front of this toilet for them to eat their meals. So can you imagine you eating an unappetizing meal in front of these conditions?
I want to talk about it in 1 second. I guess there's no leaving the toilet seat up here, right?
All right, yep, man.
Okay. So they were made to eat their meals right next to the toilet.
Yes. Squatting in rows right in front of the toilet.
Now that was the smell of the toilets themselves were obviously unwelcoming. But even more so, the food itself wasn't very tasty, was it?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, you told me that these guys would be forced to eat rotten boiled fish at any given time for dinner.
For supper, yeah, for dinner, for supper, anything.
Okay, let's talk a little more about the food situation in these prisons. Now, these are sort of, I mean, this sort of represent the kind of reality they live in.
I hope I don't ruin your appetite for the day. I hope I don't ruin your appetite. So to prepare their meals would be the white male section, and prisoners were the ones who would prepare food. They would use those drums over there to transport the meals to the site.
Okay.
And the meals quality and quantity would be determined by race. And most of the time, the black male section, inmates would be fed on dirty plates for up to a period of 7 weeks. So we have this copper plate over here to inflict on the unhygienic conditions behind these prison walls. And over here is to demonstrate the quantity of the meals that they were served.
Hold on. Are you telling me these are the exact quantities these guys used to eat?
Well, you can go once, right? Just one spoon and you're done.
1 teaspoon.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the quantity of the meals that was fed to grown men.
Every single day.
Well, every single day was 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and supper. Breakfast at 6, lunch at 10, supper at 2 p.m., and lockup time was at 3. So by 3, many of them would be behind the walls.
Wow. Okay.
It is also said that prior to the 1970s, for a Christmas treat on the 25th of December, white inmates would be fed a piece of cake or a pudding, and that would be the size of the cake or pudding, whereas black inmates would be given a cup of coffee or a cup of tea with 1 teaspoon of sugar.
So coffee for Christmas, basically?
Coffee for Christmas, yes. Until 1970, that's when the laws were relaxed.
That is terrible. Now, again, a recurring theme, a recurring humiliation comes up again and again and again when we see all of this. Not only were people made to eat in front of toilets, they were given food that was rotten.
Yep.
They were given hardly any food at all, considering the kind of quantities they had. And more so, perhaps the most humiliating thing was the tausa dance.
The tausa dance.
Tell us a little more
I'm
about
glad you touched on that.
Hey.
Many of them, still remember that being here.
Okay.
Tausa was one of the ways to deprive people of their dignity, and many lost their dignity through the dance.
Right.
It's funny how today we use the dance to celebrate, and we consider that as part of our culture. However, within the prison walls, they would actually use a dance to insult people, to degrade people. So a tausa dance was a stripped bodily search.
Okay. So it was the dance.
It was a dance and a search at the same time.
In the context of an apartheid South Africa, in the context of a prison in apartheid South Africa, a dance, something you and I do, in the context of apartheid South Africa, I had said a second ago, something that you and I do for fun, a dance, was used to denigrate, again, was used to humiliate, right?
Yep.
But also, looking at the space around us, Constitution Hill today, importantly, lives as a beacon of the greatest South African story. In what way do you think that is, Collen?
Because it balances the story of South Africa, and it tells the story of South Africa as a complete package, from the atrocities of apartheid. And today it is a beacon of hope, home to the Constitutional Court, which is meant here to protect human rights. So that shows transition from the past, which is turbulent, into the future, with holds a brighter prosperity.
Okay, so Constitution Hill, very, very remarkably an icon of human indignity, today is a great, great icon of the rights, of the human rights that we hope to preserve for all. In the very same way, tell us about, the tausa dance. Now, the tausa dance was used as a way to humiliate back in the day, right? But today we dance for fun, don't we?
Okay, all right. So you're gonna dance with me, right?
Wait. Are we gonna do the tausa dance?
Well, you talked about the tausa dance, and what's the point of us not doing it? And they also have to do it. So everyone, the students up there,
they
here
we go.
Stand up. So what we do is we're going to spread our arms, legs.
Okay, hold on. So here's the deal, guys. We need absolutely everybody to get on their feet right now. Okay, we are going to enact a dance, right? That a long time ago was used to humiliate.
Yes.
But to underscore the renewed context that we live in as South Africans, we're going to do the dance today in celebration of our newfound freedoms, aren't we?
Yep.
So, I mean, a dance that was used back in the day to humiliate.
People.
Today, we're going to use to underscore just how far we've come as a nation. Okay, here we go. All right, there it is. So, I'm taking that you're going to lead the tausa dance, aren't you?
Well, I'll demonstrate, and we're all gonna perform it at the same time.
We're all going to
I don't
perform
want
it at
to
the
be
same time.
humiliated alone, so you know it was humiliating, man. So we all.
We're doing it as a team. We're doing it as a team.
All
Okay,
right.
so let's go. And all right.
So this is how we do it. We spread our arms and legs. So what we do is you make a clicking sound using your tongue. Clicking sound. I don't know how you click, but I know Africans can click very well. And that's, well, it has to have a lot of air in it, you know, because you need air to push whatever item would be inside your rectum to push it out. That's why you had to perform that dance. So you're gonna make a loud clicking sound. I can't click, guys. I will try to click. And so what we do is basically we're gonna jump up and down while spreading our legs, closing them, clapping our hands above our heads. So that's what we're going to do. So is everybody ready there? Are you guys ready to dance? Okay. All right. So this is how we go. So you click. Like, ka, 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 ka. So imagine performing that dance. By performing that dance, if there was an item within your rectum, it would fall out. But if nothing falls out, you can stop. If nothing falls out, at the end of the process, male prisoners were supposed to lean forward, expose their rectums to the security officers for inspection. And the officer coordinating the search would go to a far extent of inserting items like a torch, a hose pipe, or a rubber baton just to check if there's no items hidden within their rectums.
This is all while doing this.
You do that at the end, then you spin around like an aeroplane. Aha, that's a nice spin, like a Michael Jackson one. And then you lean forward. Oh yeah, I won't go there. I won't go there. But yeah, that's how it was done. So you lean forward, and an officer coordinating the search would go to that extent of taking whatever item he would have, a torch. A torch is what's called a flashlight in America, rubber baton, or a hose pipe, insert them within your rectum. Female prisoners were supposed to squat, expose their vaginal canals, and the same process would take place. And at times, the male prison wardens would rape those female prisoners.
So that right there is incredible.
Yep.
Quite, you know, the rigidness, the craziness of South African history, isn't it? But also, quite importantly, such a history is what allowed us to be able to dream of a great future, isn't it? What were some of the great men that got us? Okay, not sure if we heard what I had said earlier, but I mean, this history, this sharp, painful history, this really speaks to how we as a nation were then able to imagine, to dream of a better nation, to dream of a nation where human rights are preserved, doesn't it?
Yeah, most definitely.
And who are some of the men that come to mind when you think of people that underwent human rights violation, but also dreamed of the constitution that we now have today?
So should I mention one person or just a couple of people? Because I'm a historian, so all of them are here, you know. I mean, Nelson Mandela is one of them. He experienced the turbulent past of South Africa. He was sentenced to serve 27 years in prison, and through that, he was able to forgive, and we moved forward as a democratic state.
Okay, let's talk about the Constitution. Now, of course, with the Constitutional Court, literally on this very slide. What is the Constitutional Court? Actually, I think that's a question we should pose to you, the learner. Right now, before Collen, of course, gives us a very concise idea of what the Constitutional Court is and the kind of future it hopes to bring about for all South Africans, I want to speak to you guys about what it in fact is. So I'm going to ask somebody from Allen Glare High School to come forward to the camera. Yeah. Anybody? Anyone? Anybody can approach the camera. Get as close to the microphone as possible.
The gentleman right there is too relaxed. Why don't you just
okay. You guys in front. Oh, there we go. Kind of popped up there. Okay. Do you know what the Constitutional Court of South Africa is? Just start by giving us your name. Please just go again. Can we try that again? Tell us what the Constitutional Court is, or what you understand it to be in your words.
I'm not very sure. I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. We're gonna. Cool. Thank you so much for that. We're gonna go to Siyabonga Secondary very quickly, where I need one of you guys to tell me who George Bizos is. Can you do that for me? Anybody from Siyabonga Secondary? You know who George Bizos is? You heard of it?
They should. They should know about Bizos.
Wait, you're going to be great at the next game in general knowledge. 30 seconds. I just need somebody very quickly to come to the microphone, please.
Isn't that the teacher, man?
Hi, everybody. Can you tell us your name very quickly and who you believe George Bizos is?
George Bizos, he was the son of Antonio.
Come again? He was an attorney.
He says he's the son of Antonio.
The son of Antonio?
That's his father's name.
Okay, go on.
Later on, he then immigrated to.
Okay, thank you for that. Did you know that, and now this is something that's quite critical, isn't it?
Yeah.
George Bizos is renowned very critically for being the man that in Nelson Mandela's famous Rivonia trial speech suggested that Madiba Collen, if needs be, to set off the idea of Mandela setting himself up for martyrdom, which would have quite literally meant the death sentence for Nelson Mandela. So George Bizos may have saved Nelson Mandela's life. Is this true?
George Bizos is not one of those too proud guys, you know. So what he says basically is he helped in assisting of the selection of words in writing of the speech, but Mandela is said to have written the speech himself.
Right.
And one of those words is if needs be. So he actually knew that his verdict would be a death sentence, but if needs be, he was prepared to die for, and they had to change the verdict to life.
I see. Now, very importantly, this is a man that did understand the needs of the nation, wasn't he?
Yep.
Because he played a critical role in the drafting of the Constitution.
Very vital role.
Alongside one Albie Sachs.
Speaking of Albie Sachs,
tell us more about Albie Sachs.
Albie Sachs was born 1935, the 30th of January. Right. And he became his political activism, in the 1950s, to be precise, in 1952. And he actually started practicing law at the age of 21.
Okay.
And many of the people that he defended
right.
were those who were charged under the, unlawful security laws of the apartheid regime, and many of them were faced with death sentence.
Right.
And he would represent those people.
Okay.
And he left South Africa in 1966 to go on exile.
Okay.
And whilst he was in exile, because he spent 11 years in England, he spent 11 years in Mozambique. And whilst he was in Mozambique in 1978, he lost his eyesight and his right arm through a car bomb which was planted in his car by the South African security agents. Yes.
A car bomb. That sounds crazy, like something out of a movie. Tell us more.
Yep. There was an organization known as the CCB, the Civic Cooperation Bureau, which was a government wing responsible for carrying out assassinations.
Right.
So they attempted to assassinate him, but they were successful with other assassinations, like Ruth First, who was assassinated through a letter bomb in Mozambique.
Okay.
In 1993, he came back to South Africa, and he became involved in part of the committee which was responsible for the Constitutional Court and the Constitution. So he was involved as a member of the Constitutional Committee, and he was also a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC.
I see.
He was the founder of the Research of Ministry of Justices.
Right.
He was the Constitutional Court Justice, one of the first panel of the justices
Yeah.
to run our constitution. And he's actually the guy to foresee a vision of the court being planted here.
Okay. It's incredible. I mean, like I did say earlier, you know, some of the things that went down often sound like something outside of a movie.
Yep.
But quite importantly, these were ordinary men who, when faced with great atrocities, were able to A, overcome, and quite importantly, B, exercise the frame of mind, the right frame of mind, to be able to envision a country where such atrocities don't take place. Isn't that an important theme for young South Africans in general?
Well, to them, it is a very recurring theme, and many of them don't know of these, you know, atrocities.
Right.
And some of them would say it doesn't affect them, but they actually,
Right.
we should know, because for one to know the future, you should know your past. I mean,
Right.
a tree cannot grow tall without the roots, and
Right.
our history is our heritage, and that's our roots, so we should. So it's very significant that the youth know about the atrocities, so we can help shape South Africa into a better country.
It's incredible. The South African story through and through. Now, before we get on, just very quickly, we're going to run 2 more questions for the schools. Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Shall we?
Let's see.
Shall we?
So what we're going to ask you guys is basically what's the significance of the South African flag and what's the
Yep.
significance of our coat of arms.
Okay, there we go.
You know the schools and you know the kids.
I do.
So
I do.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna get somebody from St. John's. Please approach the microphone. And yeah. So we're gonna be asking 2 questions, right? We're gonna be asking about the national flag and the coat of arms,
and the coat of arms.
also about the national anthem.
Getting there.
Okay. Okay, cool. So the first question will go to a young person from St. John's High School. What's up?
Yeah, guys.
Just tell us your name very quickly, and then please go tell us why you believe, what you believe is the significance of the South African flag and the coat of arms.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, yep. We can actually see you.
We can, yeah. Go for it. We can hear you perfectly too. Go for it. Okay. I'm not sure if we might have lost them. Okay, we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll hold that question for St. John's. But right now, then let's go to Allen Glare High School. Let's go to Allen Glare, where somebody from Allen Glare, please approach the microphone and tell us and answer this question. Are you going to pose the question? I think you should pose the question.
I should pose the question.
Pose the question.
All right. The question was, what's the significance of the South African flag, and what's the significance
Uplands. Okay, we're with Uplands.
of our coat of arms? What does it mean? And if you know, you can also refer us to the previous coat of arms of the Tsar Republic.
Okay, let's go. Tell us what the significance of the South African flag is.
Hello, can you hear us? It's Uplands, right?
It is Uplands, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I think there's somebody approaching the microphone. Okay, Uplands. Could somebody, I see somebody is to the left of the screen or to the right. The young lady that's actually answered quite a number of questions. You can answer this one again if you like.
Hello?
Somebody from Uplands, please approach the camera. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. We can hear you perfectly now. All right, so what is the significance of the South African flag as well as the coat of arms?
It represents different people coming together. Different nationalities. Sorry.
Come again?
Can you repeat that again for us, please?
It represents different nationalities coming together.
Okay.
Diverse people.
All right. The coat of arms.
And what about the coat of arms? What about the coat of arms?
I got nothing.
Okay.
He's got nothing.
Got nothing, okay.
All
We
right.
appreciate that. honesty there. So, okay, are you going to tell us very quickly before we go into the next question about the South African anthem?
Okay, with the flag, like the student said, it represents different nationalities in South Africa, meaning it emphasizes the diversity that we have, just like our coat of arms says. Our coat of arms today says Ikara Ike, meaning diverse people unite, and that's a Khoisan language.
Okay, okay.
And through that,
Yeah.
the diversity is seen by the different colors in the flag.
Right.
So these different colors represent the diverse elements in our society. However, Frederick Brownell used this green color to emphasize the unity of the diversity.
I see.
So
I see.
today, through the understanding of our history, we can articulate the colors to a certain meaning. But these colors were not meant with an international standardized meaning. We can associate that with the understanding of our history. What the flag represents is different people in South Africa coming together and becoming a nation.
Wow.
And that was emphasized by this green color here.
Okay.
So the split of the Y represents the differences between us as people. However, from here, where the Y converges, heading this way is to simply say diverse people unite and they can move forward as a nation into a long, harmonious road. And that's what our South African flag basically represents.
My word, I've never had a more perfect understanding of the national flag, I must say.
And that's the problem, because many of us would think that the flag's meaning it's in the colors, but the colors don't actually have a meaning.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to go to St. John's for the next question. Can the guys from St. John's please approach the camera? And what the question is A, who composed the South African national anthem and how many languages were used in it? Wow, the language question, I mean, for me, who composed it is something I do quite know, but how many languages is in it? That did kind of stump me, I have to admit. So, from St. John's, are you ready? I can see you. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, can you tell us, maybe, I think you should pose the question. Do you want to go
The
for it?
question, okay. All right, so the question is, who composed the South African national anthem?
Yeah.
And how many stanzas or languages do we have in our national anthem?
How many languages do we have in our national anthem?
So we're trying to find patriotic South Africans now.
Can you hear us? Go for it. I'm sorry? Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, I think it's 4 languages. And
How
I'm
many?
pretty sure it was composed by...
Please come again with the languages.
Just coming in with the languages?
How many languages you said?
4.
You
4
said-
languages. Okay, and who composed it?
Who composed it?
I'm
Don't
pretty
say
sure it
my
was a freedom fighter, and he liked wearing top hats.
Not great topic.
You don't have his name.
You don't have his name?
No, I'm not sure what his name is.
Ah,
Okay. As long as we're clear that you don't think it's Mendoza, then
Yep.
I think we're good. Yeah?
It's not Mendoza. Everything should be sorted. Non kalagatas here.
Okay, so
Should I?
I think it's answers time, man.
Okay.
Okay. Should we go to Apples with this? Okay, all right. Sounds like
We have an answer.
we do have an answer.
All right.
So, Uplands, can you come in? Can you hear us?
Enoch Sontonga.
Enoch Sontonga.
Ooh, that sounds a lot like the real answer. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I'm not sure.
well,
You'll tell us.
Partially,
Partially,
partially.
okay.
So yeah, I'll give Uplands 50%.
50%.
Yep.
But what about the other half? How many languages
how
are
many
there in the
languages?
national
4.
anthem?
It's actually not 4. So that's wrong.
Okay.
And
Let's see.
he didn't know the guy who came with the anthem. It's the guy who wears hats for them. So it's also a 0. So I'll give them 0 out of 100. So
Okay.
Uplands get 50% and they get 0%.
But Uplands hasn't gotten a chance to answer
Yeah,
the question. The
question-
languages.
The
So
languages. So
Uplands,
let's give them a chance to get their 50%.
Uplands, can you guys come in? Can you tell us how many languages
In our South African
are in
national
the
anthem.
5? Is it 5?
I think-
Any final answer? Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
So
I think he's sure. He sounds pretty sure to me.
He sounds pretty sure. So he says it's 5.
Uh-huh.
Which languages?
Okay, things just got a little bit harder. So you say it's 5, but
Yep.
can you tell us which languages?
Yep.
Afrikaans and English.
Come again?
Tausa. Sorry, I don't know.
Okay, it's Xhosa, Zulu, Sesotho, Afrikaans, and English.
Up.
Okay.
150%.
Is it 150%? Well, congratulations to you, Uplands. You guys give yourself a very loud shout for that. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go!
Come on, guys. You should be energetic. You got 150%.
Give yourselves a very loud shout for that.
Yeah.
Here we go. Well done to St. John's as well for taking part. Yeah, well done. Very, very well done to you and everybody that's been part of this too. So that brings us to the end of our quizzes.
Yeah, but let me just say something about the national anthem. It's not only in Oxontonga we came with the national anthem. We also had C.J. Langenhoven, who wrote the stem in 1918. And we had the God Save the King, which is a British anthem. And that's how our South African national anthem was composed. So prior to 1994, South Africa used to use the stem and God Save the King, and those were the official national anthems.
Wow.
But today we have incorporated other languages,
Yeah.
including Nkosi Sikelel, and that's our anthem.
Okay, okay. So we've quite literally come nearly to the end of today's Connected Classrooms, haven't we?
That's been an energetic day.
But before we get there, we still have one more question that I want to pose to Cape Town High School. All right. Now, in view, Cape Town High School, are you there? Can you please have somebody approach the camera and especially the microphone?
Yep.
Now, after all that we've seen here today, after all we've heard from you, from the classmates, from what we've seen here today, where do you believe we are headed as South Africa, as a nation? Is a
very important question, huh?
It's a very important question.
Very
I think we need
important
to
question.
continually ask ourselves
Yep.
as South Africans, where do we go as South Africa? Somebody from Cape Town High School, now of course, very, very recurring, like I've said so many times, is the fact, that we have faced some really, really very real atrocities in our past, yet also we need to use that as a building, as the building blocks
yeah.
for our future. What kind of future would you like that to be? A learner from Cape Town High School.
Cape Town.
Cape Town High School.
Hope it's not raining down there. Can you hear us, guys?
It might have been raining in the morning,
Probably.
snowing now,
You know,
and
it's Cape
clear
Town.
skies tonight.
Yeah, it's Cape Town for you.
Okay, I see you. I see you've approached the front of the camera. Yes, I can see you. So, can you tell us where you would like to see us as a country go in future? Yeah.
I think we lost her.
Okay. Right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Critical question still. And I mean, thank you so much for that learner from Cape Town High School. Unfortunately, there was no audio coming through right now, but where do we go as South Africans, Collen?
That's a question that each and every South African citizen needs to ask themselves and, find an answer, of where do they want to see this country going. Nelson Mandela once said, we should know our past, know the atrocities that happened to our people, but we shouldn't keep that too much in mind because we are here to build a new nation. We should use the past as a vehicle that would drive us to the prosperity of a brighter future. And what we have done here in Constitution Hill is we have converted one of the most turbulent spaces in South Africa, and we have converted that into one of the most harmonious spaces.
Oh, that is so
demolishing the awaiting trial block in 2001, using its bricks to build the Constitutional Court, to simply say the very same bricks that once violated people's rights are now here to protect those rights in the form of human rights.
My goodness.
And that's how I see South Africa going forward.
That there is extremely, extremely powerful. Thank you so very much for that, Collen. Thank you so very much for taking us through Constitution Hill today. Thank you so very much for telling us its story, and in so doing, telling us the South African story, telling us the story of the South Africa we have been, and more importantly, the South Africa that we hope to be. So we're going to close it again by doing the tausa dance.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we're going to celebrate and setting, again, underscoring the context, the renewed context that we live in as South Africans. We're going to do the tausa in the new South Africa, but we're going to have a hell of a lot of fun doing it.
Yep.
So I want everybody on their feet right now. Let's go,
everybody,
let's go.
Everybody.
Get up.
Come on, guys.
Everyone
Come on, guys.
Everyone
Come
get
on,
up.
guys.
Everyone get up.
So yeah, we're ready now. Eh?
Okay.
I wish we had music because these guys used to do it without music. So
okay, so
I wish
we got to
had
do
music today, you know.
We got to do it the same way, right?
Yeah, in front
Okay.
of the South African flag. This is our proud heritage,
I think I've gotten pretty good at the tausa dance, actually. You know, I mean, I'm getting the clicking right.
You were better than me.
I was killing it, man. If I could say so myself.
If it was a
like,
competition, man, you have the title.
okay, there
All
we
right.
go.
So let's go.
So let's see you guys out there. Let's see you do the tausa dance. All right, now here we go. We have already done the instructions, so we're gonna get right into it. The clicking.
Okay, we click, we jump up and down, clap your hands above your
There we
head.
go.
Yes, let's go, guys. This is how we do the tausa then. Yes, guys, come on, guys. Come on, guys. Remember, you're naked.
30.
Yes.
We're gonna do it for 30 seconds.
Well, I think now we can, spin around like an airplane.
Okay,
yeah. And we
do
won't
it
do,
like we do. Do it like we do.
and we won't do the end of it because it's insulting, degrading, and it's making the dignity.
But I still want to do it for like 5 more seconds.
All right,
5
okay,
more
let's
seconds.
go.
Really, come on, let's keep
Let's go. It's part of an exercise, guys.
really,
You should be
actually could
energetic
quite
right now.
Right, so let's see if I'm everybody. I see people just standing.
Yes. No, man, thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
It's been an
Colin.
absolute honor and a great
Absolute
privilege to
pleasure.
be with
Thank you
you
so
today.
much for taking us through this.
You're welcome
I
anytime.
really do appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, and
Okay.
you're welcome, guys. And from me, it has been an absolute honor and a great pleasure to be with you today.
Wow. Yo, I've never actually had so much fun on a field trip.
Yeah, it's very hard in here.
Again, this has been an incredibly stimulating journey. As painful as it is, gratifying and inspiring. Thank you so very much to all the schools for joining us. And remember that these will remain on YouTube, and we do have a video of the last 21 icons. YouTube broadcast, and also on the 13th of October we will have the next one, so do join us for that. Thank you so very much again for joining us, and I'll see you next time. Let's see a big wave from everybody. Cheers. Let's see a big wave. All right. Cool.